Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Stacy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're good to go. Just make sure it's recording and you can play the music now. Okay?
All right. I'm not sure how to play the music.
Okay, it's fine. Did you download the file?
Yes.
Okay. I'll just start the live on Facebook now. Okay? Maybe
Okay.
let's just wait for a minute or two or ask them to join. Okay.
Okay.
Going live in 5 seconds.
Welcome, everyone. We are going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. We are doing the Business Owner Clarity series. And if you are just joining us, welcome. We're so excited that you're here. And today we're going to be talking about if you're wearing too many hats and why your business feels stuck. So I know we've got some that are going to be joining us here on Zoom, and then we also have some in our Facebook group. And so we do have those that are going to be monitoring that as well. So please feel free to drop some comments and be interactive. We'll just take a couple minutes for everyone to pop on. Hey, Savannah, great to see you. Welcome. So happy that you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Ye- Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll just take a minute. And if you are popping on the live, let us know where you're joining us from and what your business is. We're going to be introducing, I love connecting people and helping them to strengthen their network as well. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome to the Business Owner Clarity Series. This is a new series that Action Coach Tampa Bay has just started. And so, if you are new to us, we have a YouTube channel that you can follow us on, and that is Action Coach Tampa Bay. And we do this Business Owner Clarity Series twice a month to be able to help the business owner in all of the different things that you're doing, like all the hats that you're wearing. So we talk about how to increase your productivity, increasing your time, how to create more systems, recruiting, team, and of course, making more money, which is why we're in business for making more money and having more freedom. And today we're talking about if you're still wearing too many hats and why your business feels stuck. So, first of all, I just want to let you know that that is a normal thing. I was just talking to a business owner this morning, and she was talking about all those hats, and there is a lot of different responsibilities that maybe when you first started going into business you didn't know about. And so, what we want to do for you today is to be able to help you to find out where the bottlenecks are in your business and why you might be feeling stuck. So, if you're joining us, we're excited to have you here. It is something we do twice a month, and you can follow us on socials for the different events. All right, so a little bit of just agenda of what we'll be covering today. We'll go through some just general housekeeping. Basically, what that means is how to get the best use of your time. I know we're so used to multitasking, so we're going to cover like how do you get the most use of your time from this here. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about who we are, and then I'll give you some time to do some introductions as well. Then we'll dive into the content. So we'll go through some of the strategies here so that you're able to take some content that can help you in your business, apply it. And then, of course, the most important thing is how to stay in action because we're action coach. We're all about putting things in action. And then I'm going to ask you, what is the thing that stood out to you? We call it BFOs or blinding flash of the obvious. So those are those like aha moments. So you may have heard some of these things before, but sometimes when you hear it again, it just lands at that perfect moment. And then we're going to ask for your feedback. Whenever we do an event, we ask for feedback. We're always looking at ways to improve. We want to make sure that you're getting the best value, and we love to hear from you as well. So, a little bit about how to get the most BFOs. I recommend that you get present. So, turn the notifications off on your phone, maybe put the do not disturb. Love audience participation so you can participate if you're here on Zoom. You can also comment in the Facebook group. If we don't, get you on the comments now, we will definitely be going back and looking at those comments. So if you have questions, if you have things that stand out, we want to hear about that. And just calling out your answers and raising your hand and interacting. That's a way to get the most out of it. So, a little bit about us. We are the world's #1 business coaching firm. We have more than 1,000 offices in 70 countries worldwide, and we're privately owned and funded by Brad Sugars, who is an entrepreneur and author, and the vision behind our company is to create world abundance through business re-education. And so when we talk about businesses, sometimes we hear, Stacy, you don't know my business. My business is a specific type of business. Well, we coach over 15,000 businesses each week across the world. So what that means is it's not specific to an industry. So I hope that gives you some confidence of a little bit of who we are so that you can also understand that when you're building a business, there are some foundational elements that can help you to accelerate your growth and do it strategically so that you're also profitable. And what I'd love to do now is just take 30 seconds to tell you a little bit about who you are. If you're in our Facebook group, go ahead and let us know who you are, what your business is. And I know we had some that were going to join us on Zoom. It looks like we have Savannah here, and I would love to just introduce us. Let us know your name of your business, maybe a little bit about it. And why you wanted to come here today.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks,
Okay.
Savannah.
Hi everyone. My name is Savannah Knowles, and I work for a company. Our business name is Michael Gion Contractor. It's my father's company, actually. He's a general contractor, and it's a full service GC company. So we handle, all your jobs from start to finish, working with the architects to get the plans made and approved, just about every step of the way. And our niche is commercial. More so, we do a lot of warehouses, industrial, medical, government, new construction. I mean, we do just about everything. But and I started working for my father about 5 years ago. I got into doing his bookkeeping on his QuickBooks, and then once I graduated college, I got into doing his supervising, and I was out on the job sites, helping run jobs and coordinate them. And that was really cool because, I was seeing my dad do estimating and everything. So it was just cool seeing it in person. But now I'm doing his networking and marketing, office management. So I'm wearing multiple hats. So I feel like this will be very beneficial.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think there's one piece that you missed is that your original vision for the company.
Yes, I would like to take over my father's company one day. No pressure.
Yes.
But that is the end goal. And so that's why I would love to just, learn everything, but also be productive, know what's really important when I need to reestablish and, take over for
Yeah.
my dad.
Yeah, that's so smart. And what a great opportunity because I know a lot of business owners want to be able to have a legacy with their business and would love to
Mhm.
have their kids to, take over the business. And oftentimes they're not interested. So I think it's wonderful that
Thank
you're
you.
wanting to carry that on as a tradition and be able to, really get into your dad's business. So, and at the same time, educating yourself. So important, so important. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Stacy Peasall. I have been coaching for the last 14 years, and eight of which have been business coaching. I have owned several different types of businesses, everything from a toy store to an Amazon business to a resort and a restaurant partnership. I bought a business, I've sold it. I know all about the hats and all the different things. I had no idea. When I bought the toy store, I basically was buying myself a job and I didn't buy an asset. And so the business was wrapped around me. And what I've learned in Action Coach is that you want to make sure that you're not the bottleneck. Yes, in the early beginning, you're going to have a lot of different things you're wearing, a lot of hats. And if you have all of the information, all of the strategies, everything in your head, and you're the one doing that, it's really hard to grow and to scale. And you're just the owner operator, and that is not scalable. So, what I'm going to be sharing today is how to do that, how to overcome that, and what are ways to be able to grow the business to scale, and then, maybe have some time off so that you can travel and have some fun. So, what I'd love for you to do is just take a moment and think about what are you choosing to get out of today. So, I'm not going to ask you to share, but I would love for you just to write that down or just think about like why you wanted to watch this webinar, why you wanted to join today. What's the one thing that if you walked away with that today, that would really help you in your business? So, what's that one thing that you want to get out of today? So today isn't about motivation or theory. It's about understanding why this problem exists and how to fix it with structure. So if you've ever felt like everyone needs you, every decision comes back to you, you can't fully step away. And even with help, you're feeling like you're still carrying the business. Just understand that that is something that's normal. But at some point, many owners realize that if it's too dependent upon you, then it's difficult to scale. And so that's what we want to talk about. And so when we're working with clients, we want them to be able to understand that there is a way to do this strategically as well as profitably, and you still get to sleep at night. In fact, I want to share a client success story. One of the things I love doing is, hearing the success story. And this is from one of our current clients now. And he shared that he started Action Coach and he couldn't be happier. It's been a huge help focusing on the most important parts of the company. So if you're a business owner and you're like, which areas do I want to focus on? Or even like Savannah, like, okay, I'm trying to figure this all out, just understand that that is something that we can assist you with. He said, I'm growing in the right directions and I feel like I have an experienced person to assist me in what I don't know. And that is so helpful because there's so many things to focus on. And which of those things do we focus on first? That can be the challenge. The other thing I wanted to share is the human aspect of it. So we go into business because we're really wanting to have, the freedom. We have a passion about something, but most of you are working, so many hours a week in the business and you're so close to it. So, this perspective here, when you're seeing this guy in the glass that says you can't read the label from inside the jar, it just means when you're so close to the business, when you are so emotionally involved, it's hard to see some of the predictors outside of the business that could impact your business. You see the work, the deliverables, the providing of the service, but you may not see other areas because, it's so close to you. And it's not because you're not working hard. I think that's one of the things that's a misconception that a lot of business owners think is if I can just work hard enough, then I will finally get unstuck. And that's just not the case. Oftentimes, you need that outside perspective because you literally can't see what's holding you back. And this is the human cost. So, when we talk to business owners and really anyone that's in business that's wanting to build a business, the thing that they always go into business for is because of their family. Yes, we all like to make money, absolutely. But we really, value our family and value our time. And when the business owner is wearing so many hats and they're working so many long hours, sometimes it's at the sacrifice of the family. You're stressed out, you've got payroll, you're thinking about business when you're at home, and when you're at work, you're thinking about your family. So, really, when you're able to grow your business and be able to do that in a strategic way and build the business that works without you, these are the lives that are impacted, your family. And so we love working with business owners who they're tired of saying like, yeah, everything's fine when really it's not. And really ready to step into having the dream and having the freedom of really the reason they went into business. So let's talk about the core narrative. And this is something, a lot of business owners accept that they don't need to be accepting. So, the business keeps growing, but so does the pressure. Or there's never enough time to work on the business, where everything still comes back to me. I hear this a lot. Or there's constant interruptions and putting out fires. You're always on your phone, you're always on call, or even secretly worrying the business can't grow without them. And then feeling mentally like on 24/7. So if these are some of the things that you've experienced and you've kind of just accepted that this is normal, I want to say, yes, there are a lot of business owners that feel this way, but you don't have to feel this way. And so, the reality is the business feels stuck because too much still depends on the owner. So, what I want to share with you is our 6 steps to build a business that works without you. So I'm just going to highlight this real quick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive deeper into the areas to really helping you to see the ways that you can start feeling a little unstuck and start not wearing so many hats. So the very first step in our system is mastery. And so this is about eliminating the chaos. And so within mastery, there's four different areas. There's mastering your time, mastering your destination of like where you're going as a company, mastering your delivery. So that's your product or your services. And so all of the different ways that you provide that and then mastering your finances. So think of it, I'm just going to use it just, like building a house. We know the very first thing that we have to do, I mean, once all the land's been done, we have to build the foundation, right? So you have to have the foundation in order for everything else. And if you don't get the foundation just right, all the different areas of your house is not going to work right. So you have to get that foundation. So think of mastery as the foundation for the business. And then the second step is creating the stability for the business. And so that is really your niche or like we say marketing. Okay? That's where you're creating predictable cash flow. So that's the second area of it. Now, oftentimes we see business owners kind of rush through the mastery elements. They're like, yeah, yeah, I've got a bank statement. Yeah, I book things in my calendar and, I kind of know how to do the operational side of it. And I'll figure out where I want to go. Right now, I just want to be able to pay the next, my next paycheck or my next bills. So, think about it that when they go into marketing, if you're creating that predictable cash flow, but your foundation isn't very solid, that's when a lot of chaos happens. So eliminating the chaos and then creating the predictable cash flow is really important. And then the third step is leverage. So I'm going to go over that today, and that's really about leverage with systems. So creating the efficiency. And most business owners, we find that the systems are mostly in their head, and there's no other place that you can find the systems. And so it's not very efficient, especially if the business owner maybe is sick at home or, not feeling the top of his or her game. That can really create some problems. Now, the fourth is team. And so this is where once you've created the systems in your business, you're hiring team to have structure for growth. A lot of business owners jump from marketing straight to team and they don't create systems. And then what they find is they're babysitting their new team that they have just hired, or they're creating a lot of extra work for themselves because they have to then express everything that's in their head to this new team member and train them. And now they have just added a whole entire new hat, which is manager hat, and they don't have the extra time. And so they get frustrated because now they thought by hiring someone on their team that they were going to be working less, and now they're actually working more. So if you felt that, just know that that is something that we do often see. And then once we get up to the next level is synergy. And so this is when your systems and your team are like a well-oiled machine. You're more in the management level and you're overseeing that. And so that's when you've created that foundation, you've got the walls, everything is functioning really well, and you're able to have more time with being the face of the business, working on the business to have the growth and ultimately create the passive income, whether you want to sell the business, whether you want to have the legacy and leave it, second generation business. Maybe you want to buy another business and use this same system to be able to create the results. But that's really where you have the freedom to be able to do what you want. Maybe you want to go for a month in Hawaii. So these are the 6 steps. And then what I'm going to dive deeper is showing you how you can eliminate some of these hats and how you can do it strategically. So let's take a look at leverage. So leverage is all about ever more with ever less. So this is about divide to multiply. And when I first heard this, I was like, I don't really understand this. So let's think about when you're able in your business, if you're doing like one task that you have repeated more than once, this is something that you want to create a system for. Because when you do that, this is where you divide to multiply because you're going to take that, you're going to create a system around it, and then you can hire team to utilize that system. So that is where you are eventually going to create that leverage in your business that creates that success. So this is really how you're able to have a lot more time ultimately when you're having more leverage in the business. So let's look at the four ways to leverage in business. So the first is people and education. So when you're hiring team, and then when you're training the team or even training yourself. Oftentimes, I see business owners that they get to a certain level in their own business and they've done training there, but they have not done the training that's necessary to take their business to the next level. And so, think of it this way when you're looking, there's several industries that require, like if you think medical industry, they require you to do a certain amount of continuing education. So think of that for your business. The world is changing. We have AI. We have so many different, we have online, we have so many different things, different economies, and so forth. And so, as a business owner, it's important to keep education at the forefront for both yourself as well as for your team members. And then the next is delivery and distribution. So I think that a lot of business owners do pretty well when it comes to the delivery and distribution of their business because they're in that owner operator mode. They know how to do their industry, especially once they've gone past like the 3 year, 5 year, maybe entering the 10 year. It's like they're finally getting into the flow of how to do that. But that's a way to leverage it. So if you're in the early stages of business, you want to think, how can I be more efficient with my delivery of my service or my product? And how can I be more efficient with distribution as well? This is going to help to eliminate some of the bottlenecks. And then the third way is testing and measuring. So, when you're in business, you want to test and measure everything, whether it's with your marketing. You want to make sure in your marketing that you're getting a return on your investment. So, what is your conversion rate? What is your customer acquisition? How long is your sales cycle? What, is the percentage of your cost of goods or your break even point plus profit. Like you want to measure and test your KPIs because when you're measuring them, you will be able to know, okay, if I have a conversion rate of 30% and I was to increase that but to 40%, all I would need to do is create a sales system that could increase that without me having to do anything more. Then I'm creating more profit for my business. So that's why you want to test and measure, and you want to make sure that, of course, that you're growing. And the only way to know is by testing and measuring. And then the fourth way is through systems and technology. And so, we live in a time where AI is just exploding, and there are so many different ways to automate, to create more leverage with technology. And then the systems, which I think we've talked about. You want to make sure that you have a system in your business at every stage of the business. And I want to premise that it's not something that's going to happen overnight. In fact, I was talking with a business owner that was at our Entrepreneur Day, and he said that he was so happy. One of his wins was that he created a system for all of his photographers. He does real estate photography to help business or help houses to be able to sell, to help the realtors to be able to sell the houses. And he had never created, like, he has a specific way to do the photography, a specific way that works really well, and it's created a great reputation. He's been in business, I believe, somewhere around 20 years. And so he created a system, and he said it took him a year. So I just want to give a little bit of some, it wasn't an overnight type of thing. But here's the big win there is by creating the system, he's now expanded into two different new territories, into Bradenton and also into Orlando, and he's looking at now a third territory, and he's done that in a matter of months. So think about the leverage behind that because now that he has a system, he just has to look for the right candidate to fill that. And he's got a whole entire training system, and he doesn't have to be the one that does it because he's already has the system. So just something to think about. It's really powerful and creates a lot of leverage and certainly takes off a couple hats. So leverage is all about, like, one of the things we talked about is system. And the thing that I love about this, I love acronyms. And so system stands for saving yourself time, energy, and money. So highly recommend writing that down. System stands for saving yourself time, energy, and money. It may not feel like it at the time when you're creating the system. But what I will tell you is think about the story that I just shared with the photographer. In the end, think about he was able to expand into two networks with just, a few months. So that definitely saved him time. So looking at our 6 steps, we looked at the leverage, and that's really about creating a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So let's look at the way to leverage in business. So here's another acronym for you. This is another way. So we talked about systems. Now we have team. And so this one is together, everyone achieves more. Now, if you're like most business owners, there is some struggle when it comes to hiring and when it comes to recruiting, and you may even have some limited mindset into maybe even some past experience with maybe not such great hires. So one of the things that we do really well at Action Coach is we help with recruiting. And what we like to say is that recruiting is marketing. Hiring is just filling a spot. That's just when you're putting an ad, on Indeed, on in LinkedIn, and you've got that immediate need. That's not positioning the business really well because there's that urgency behind it. So recruiting is marketing. It's really about positioning your business as the place to be. So it's where you're attracting A team members that are not necessarily looking at Indeed. In fact, they probably already have a job, but they're not happy with the culture there. So if you've created an amazing culture in your organization and you use marketing, to as a recruitment process and go through that process and you attract that A team member, they're going to be the one that's going to help you to create that leverage in your business. And what we have found is when our owners use our recruiting process, it goes from like a 20% success rate all the way up to an 80 plus success rate, which is huge. So, when you're thinking about the dollars that you spend when you're hiring, every bad hire is a minimum of like $4,000, not to mention all of your time. So it's really important to look at, creating a recruitment system that helps you to elevate your success, helps you to make more money, and really, like this says, together everyone achieves more. And it's not just the business owner, but just all about the team members as well. So let's go through some of the different things, when we're talking about the different hats that we're wearing and the business owners kind of being the bottleneck. A lot of times it's hard to know what to delegate. And so here are a few things that we put together to help you with delegating. So the first is creating a basic time log to help you find tasks that should be delegated. So, think about what are those basic tasks that maybe you could hire someone closer to minimum wage that maybe you're doing probably because it feels easier and some of the other items feel more difficult. Like, what are those tasks? Make a list of some of those tasks. Maybe it's your email, maybe that's something that you could get an AI automation to help you with, or maybe you could hire a virtual assistant to help you with some of those other tasks that maybe take you longer, but would take someone else a lot quicker to allow you to spend more time on the business, whether that's, education, whether that's planning, whether that's training or creating some systems in your business. So think about like, what's the time that you're spending? We recommend, kind of just like you would kind of do like a food diary to kind of see what is it that I'm actually eating. Think about your time the same way because our time, it's the most valuable thing that we have. And if we're overwhelmed, we've got all the hats that we're wearing. Usually we're gonna choose the more comfortable one. We're gonna choose the one that's easier because we're already feeling so taxed. So take a look at your time. I recommend just kind of doing a basic, time log diary of the week and find out like what are the things that I'm doing? Am I spending time working on the business, building systems? Um, we're looking at growth strategy, looking at training for myself, or am I doing a lot of doom scrolling and checking emails and responding really quickly on emails that maybe I could delegate, so that I could have more time? And the next is look for things you want to do but don't need to do. And so, if you're looking at where you're wanting to spend your time, kind of like what I was talking about there, I love Covey's matrix, time study. If you look at that, it's the four quadrants. And a lot of business owners spend a lot of their time in that urgent, fires, got to put out all the fires, those urgencies. And sometimes they're not so urgent. And they don't spend a lot of time in quadrant two where they're planning and building the business. So think about like where you're spending your time and what are the things that you really need to focus on your business. And the next one is finding 5 hours a week so you can work on the business. So this is something that we recommend is when you're looking at the week, you know, putting it into your calendar. So it's one thing to have a list at the beginning of the week, but it's another thing to take it a step further and put time blocks in your calendar where it's like working on my business or it's, business focused time or it's my CEO time, whatever that is, whatever resonates with you, but put that time in your business or in your calendar. And, if you find that it's closer to the end of the day when you put it and you kind of put it off, then I recommend putting it more at the beginning of the day. If you're feeling more energetic at the beginning of the day, it's kind of like the book Eat That Frog. Put that frog at the beginning of the day. So it's like, yes, I did my hour of working on my business. Or maybe you want to time block it for 2 hours here or an hour and a half or whatever works for you. But it's just dedicated time to working on your business. And so those are all things that are the strategy. Just like when I went over those 6 steps, maybe you don't have a recruitment system, so you want to put that into place, or maybe you don't have an onboarding training system. Those are activities that are working on your business, not the delivery of your product or service. So I just want to clarify that. And then the next is delegation. So it's about letting go as much as it is the team. And so a lot of business owners will say, but you don't understand, Stacy, my business is like my baby. Yes, I get that. And just like a baby, they're going to turn 18 at some point. And if you continue to treat your 18-year-old or your, as my daughter's 24-year-old, as a baby, they're not going to appreciate it very much. And as parents, our job is to help prepare them to let go. And so it's the same with your business. Yes, in the very beginning stages of the business, yes, you're going to have to pay so much attention to everything. But there comes a point that if you want your business to grow, you're going to have to let go. There's going to have to be the training in place, and you're having a strategic hiring and recruiting process so that you can put that A team member in there, and that's creating that synergy of both of them working together. And so then you're in more of a management role. You're looking at your systems, you're testing and measuring, making sure you've got the right team. And then it starts to work as a well-oiled machine. So you have to baby step that towards it, but you can't keep your business as a baby forever because it's going to be wrapped around you. And then this next one is really good. Make sure when you delegate, you don't just abdicate. So I think the best way to explain this is I was in a cafe, I think it was a few months ago, and I noticed that when I went up to pay for my lunch, they had a person that was a trainer there at the cashier. And then they had, the other person there telling them what to do at the same time. Well, the line was really long. There was like about 8 or 9 people in line. And this girl was, trying to do the buttons as this other person was telling them what to do. So that's not training because, you're really putting them in fire. And it's so when you're just giving them a task, I mean, that training is not very effective, I guess is what I should say. There is some training involved, but not very effective. And so what I see is a lot of business owners, they will hire someone and say, okay, I want you to do this. So they're abdicating to them, but they're not giving them the proper training. And so that's really important. And then I think we talked a little bit about this: train, assist, and measure at the start. So when you're starting out, when you're going through this process, you want to really look at, what am I measuring here? What's the training that I have for them, and assisting through that process. The more that you're involved in that, you'll be able to see like, okay, these are the changes that need to be done, and this is what I can change for in the future, the less that you'll be doing. And that helps you to be able to delegate and to lift a couple of those hats off. So you're not doing the operator hat anymore. You're moving more into the management role. Or maybe you're doing all of the other tasks of being the person that's doing all the operations, and you don't have systems. Once you're creating those systems, then you can have your team be able to do that. So extremely effective. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you're in the Facebook group, you can chat and put those in there as well. And then also if you're on Zoom, let me know as well. So going back to the 6 steps, we talked about leverage, we talked about team, we talked about the goal is really creating a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. And so the next step is synergy, and that's when they're both working together. And that's the well-oiled machine. That's where we want to get to the business where they're working together, it's effective, and we're not having to do everything. So the last thing that I want to cover is how do you create a winning team? Like, what does that look like when you are recruiting, and what's the way to be able to set that up for success? So let's see, looks like it jumped ahead. Okay, so the first one is strong leadership. So, sometimes business owners have never been a business owner before, or maybe they have just been in corporate, but they've never done leadership. So, there's a difference between leading and there's a difference between management. And I'm not going to go in that today. We definitely will cover that in some of our up and coming webinars. But you have to, when you're looking at being a strong leader, that's someone who is enrolling and inspiring people. And so I'm sure that you've experienced being a part of a team that did not have strong leadership. And so it's important that if you don't have that skill set, and I just want to point out, it's a skill set, it's not something you're necessarily born with, then you can certainly you can learn that. We have a 12-week management course. In fact, it's going on right now and it's phenomenal. So it will help you with managing and leading. Number two is having a common goal. So, what is the goal for the company? Is everyone aware of what the goal is? And you don't want the goal just to be making more money because that's not inspiring and enrolling for the team. What's the common goal? Do you want to be like the number one contractor in Tampa? Or do you want to be, is it something maybe you want to create, a legacy? Whatever that is, what's that common goal that everybody can be part of? And then number three, what are the rules of the game? You need to understand, like, what are the expectations? What is the culture like in this company? What are the rules of the game? Number four is having an action plan. So, do you have an action plan? Do you have a 90-day action plan? Do you have a 1, 5, and 10-year goal? If not, these are some things that you can utilize during the 5 hours a week that you're working on your business. So if you're not sure what you can work on, these are some of those as well. And number five is support risk taking. And so, this is an area that I would say is really difficult for a lot of owners and managers is to support their team members to take risks because they want to step in and they want to say, no, this is how you do it. But people learn by taking the risk and even also making the mistake, and they will learn from it, they will grow, and they will appreciate that. So supporting risk taking is important. And then 100% involvement and inclusion. So having an amazing communication, really letting everyone know where you're going. There's no guessing. They're able to be part of that and feel included. And number seven is ongoing training for you, for you and the team. And so, like we talked about that before, what is the training? Normally, industry standard is anywhere, I believe it's like 2 to 7% of your annual revenue should go towards your training. So, if it's not something that's in your budget, take a look at your budget and look at like what is the training that we're doing, and not just operational of your industry but also management training or sales training. What does that training look like? And then number eight is communication, extremely important. You want to be able to have that open level of communication so everyone can share their ideas. Everyone is, creating some responsibility and creating some ownership in the company and feeling like they're comfortable to be able to communicate. So we've talked about leverage, we talked about team, synergy and results is really where your growth and freedom is. That's when you can start to duplicate and have that freedom, just like what I was talking about with the photographer earlier. So our definition of a successful business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. Now, sometimes business owners say, Stacy, I don't necessarily need that. But think about life. Life can sometimes throw curveballs. If someone gets sick in the family, what happens to your business when you have to step away? You want to make sure that your business is still growing and it's still operating without you. So you want to learn to work on your business, not just in your business. Extremely important. Another client success story I want to share real quick. I'll let you go ahead and read that on the screen. But this is Erica Allen. She is also a current client. And I think she's going on, this says 3 years. I don't know if this how current this is. But she works with one of our coaches, Tony. We have 5 coaches, by the way, on our team. And she has worked with another business coach in the past, and I heard her story at a BNI presentation. And one of the things that she really strongly said was Action Coach is legit with the formulas and the system and helping to create a business that runs without you. And so I love that she shares this here as well. Helped with the hiring process. And, accountability is great, but you want to make sure what exactly is the formulas, what's the system to be able to create that success. So most owners fail because when they fall off the wagon, they stay off. They break a habit like looking at their KPIs or following up on leads that one bad day, and then that becomes a bad month because they're emotionally involved. So, coaching isn't about never failing, it's about getting back on track faster than you would on your own. And think of it like, when I go to the gym, I just did a personal trainer and he pushed me way harder than I would on my own. If I go to the gym by myself, I don't push myself that hard. And so, that's the same with the business coach, is they're going to help you to see like it's okay. We've got this next day and showing you exactly what to do to be able to move forward. And those are the types of business owners that we're looking for. Those that are like, I'm tired of the facade and I really want that breakthrough. I want that transformation. I want to spend more time with my family. All right, I want to just take a couple minutes. If you're listening on the Facebook or the group or live, type in what was your BFO, your blinding flash of the obvious. And you can also, if you're here on Zoom, you can type that into the chat as well. What was something that really stood out to you? So the BFO is like that aha. Maybe you've heard it before, but it's something that really stood out. And hopefully you've got some notes that you can look over. All right. So this is one of my favorite sayings that Teresa at Action Coach actually says is her favorite as well is you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. So think of this visual when you give someone your phone and say, "Will you take a picture of us?" and they tell you to kind of move over to the left, or they say, "Hey, wait just a minute, there's someone behind you." You're not able to see that. And the same goes for when you're a business because you know, one of the biggest advantages to business owners can have is having that outside perspective. Sometimes the breakthrough is simply seeing what you could not see from inside the business. So this is really an important thing to think about as well. Um, I want to talk about our next upcoming Entrepreneur Day, which is this Friday and it's May 15th, and it's how to turn every customer into a raving fan. This is an in-person event over at the St. Pete Conference Center, and it's only $47, which basically covers your breakfast. But this is an opportunity for you to meet other business owners, network, meet business owners that are part of our Action Coach community, be able to talk to them about their experience as well. And then it also counts for working on your business. So it's from 9 to 12:30. You will be in small groups and tables, and we will be talking about how to turn every customer into a raving fan. So this is a way to create more profit in your business without having to go out and generate more leads because generating leads is expensive, but you've got those existing clients. And what are you doing to nurture them? How are you creating raving fans? How are you increasing your reviews as well as your referrals? So this is a great opportunity to be able to come to that. And also, we would love to have your feedback. And so we'll go ahead and drop the link in the chat to be able to get the feedback as well. And, I invite you to, come to Entrepreneur Day, check that out. You can definitely come back to one of our business owner clarity webinars. We have that as well. And either way, I hope today helped you to realize something important that the goal is not to build a business that consumes your life, it's to build a business that supports your life. So it looks like the feedback form is in there as well. And, I want to just mention if you create, go ahead and fill out that feedback. One of the things that you'll see on the feedback form is the option to sign up for Entrepreneur Day. There will be an option there as well. You can also sign up to have a complimentary 60-minute strategy session with myself. This is a value of $4.95. If there's something specific that you're wanting to work on, whether that's a system, whether that's recruiting, whatever that looks like to you. We offer this only within when you're attending the webinar. And so we have created some time options on that feedback form as well. So if you're wanting to do that, I highly recommend selecting a date, and I would be happy to meet with you. The next Business Owner Clarity webinar is why more sales isn't fixing the problem. So that is something to be able to look at as well. And then on your feedback form, what you will see is we also have a 12-week business owner masterclass. This is something that is on open enrollment, which basically means that we have clients, business owners that are joining just at any time, because it's not something that builds. It's something that is each week we're working on the business basic fundamentals. And it's extremely important. I have business owners that have had masters in business take it. So even if you have taken, if you have a college education, just understand this is specific education. It's done by Brad Sugars, the founder of Action Coach, and it is extremely valuable. And you not only are able to listen to the trainings, but you will be working with myself once a week in an hour on Zoom. And that'll be your hour to work on your business, get feedback from others that are going through that, and help you to build the areas in the business foundation of what you need to work on. So there is an option in the feedback form to select that. It's $1,200 for 12 weeks, and all that you need to do for today is $100, and you can pay $100 each week. Phenomenal opportunity. And then I also wanted to mention that here is the different socials that we are on. So you can follow us on Facebook at Action Coach Tampa Bay, on Instagram as well. And then we've got YouTube. So if you're not already following us, highly recommend that you follow us. We post our webinars there. We post our upcoming Entrepreneur Days and just all kinds of amazing, helpful videos to help you as business owners to create that level of support. So I want to thank you again for your time. Thank you for showing up. I don't think I mentioned on the YouTube, there is a playlist that has the Business Owner Clarity series there too. So if you're wanting to catch some of the previous ones, we have that as well. And appreciate your feedback and appreciate your time and appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, Savannah. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.